It was a crowded bus, but that person disappeared in such a flash. Like, I don't know what, I just wanted to, I was feeling disgusted and I didn't do anything. Motto for any relationship, right? Communication. But men are not taught to be like, oh, I'm hurt, but I can't say it. When men learn to stop controlling, women will learn how to stop being controlled. The girls have to bleed. Men have to go bleed like the blood of war on the field.
Hi Mithila, welcome to the Male Feminist. कैसी है तू?
बहुत बढ़िया.
The Male Feminist tries to understand कि आप what makes you the kind of woman that you are. तो I know आपकी childhood की कहानी सबको पता है. But growing up, living with grandparents versus parents, how did that change things for you?
You know, सबको शायद लग रहा होगा और लगता है. Because growing up, I think people had that image that if you're growing up with grandparents, it's easier. You know, because grandparents have a different... No, but apparently... काफी लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि grandparents have a different relationship with their
they'll let you be more.
They'll let you be. पर ऐसे कुछ नहीं था. Like it was in fact exactly ulta. My parents were way more chill than my grandparents were. And by grandparents, I mean mostly my grandfather because he was a disciplinarian. We always wonder, we always say this, कि उनको 3 बेटी है, उसके बाद my sister and I, like, we are daughters of his eldest daughter.
Correct.
So having grown up with him, basically 5 girls have grown up in his house. So we always wonder what it would be like if he had a son. Like how different would that be? Because for us, he was very strict, but that was still, there was a gentler way of, in whatever his, like, he was very strict and very like stern about things. I was scared of him, but I would still think that he had a gentler approach than he would had he had a son.
So you had a feminist upbringing also with your grandfather,
Yes.
no?
My father loves to cook.
Amazing.
Like, almost to the extent that he would rather not have any of us around him in the kitchen. He's like, तुम लोग बैठो, मैं serve करूँ.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
So, and of course for a different generation, it's like, why is a man cooking? For my sister and I growing up, we're like, okay, but my dad cooks. Like,
Yeah, you don't cook and it's not a bad thing.
I don't cook. It's not a bad thing. My father would love to come stay with me and feed me. And it's like, it's... So, honestly, that was never a thing behind... Like, behind our head, I'm saying. At the back of our head for my sister and me, कि वो कभी था ही नहीं कि लड़कियाँ kitchen में काम करती और लड़के. I think what is important for us is to know that we had the privilege of making our own choice.
अभी तो 30 हो गए तो अभी ज्यादा प्रेशर नहीं शादी विधि का.
In fact, वो लोग, like everybody else has kind of come to an understanding of she will do it when she wants to because she's been a girl of her own.
It's your call, it's your game, it's your scene.
I mean, they wish that I would, you know. So my family actually has been fairly, for the lack of a better word, progressive about it. And the reason I say lack of a better word is because we started using these labels also very frivolously because I feel like, oh, tum progressive ho to tum ye nahi kar sakti. It's not, so which is why I said what I said. But in the sense of, there was never, of course, when I was 25, 23, 25, like these are the years
For
where
women,
you start looking.
they're a little different
they're
than men.
different than. So of course, like my grandmother was like, okay, you're 23, we should start looking. So math is like कि अभी देखने शुरू कर देते हैं
तो साल 2 साल तक
हाँ, शादी हो जाएगी.
सही बात है.
पर वो कभी priority नहीं थी. And I do want to mention my grandfather was very against it, against this thought process.
And how is it having an elder sister?
I would say I was lucky to have had a friend in her.
But ये बाद में होता है ना रे. मतलब this happens after your teenage maybe. With me and my brother that happened that time.
Yeah.
I think so.
I like the entire what do you call it, period conversation was, she brought it up. And this was much when I was 9 or 10. Like I had just moved into my grandparents' house and she is a geek. She is a nerd. So she sat me down, drawn like biology diagrams and said that...
Full uterus she drew.
Full everything. Like your entire reproductive system. And explained everything in detail to me in terms of like, this is what your body goes through. So I always had her to like, there was never a, oh, now how do I have this conversation with someone? It was really as easy as that. So I think I was also privileged to have had a friend in her.
मुझे पानी दे दिया गया, गर्म पानी, ताकि मेरी आवाज ठीक रहे. We were talking about periods, menstruation. बॉयज को सिखाने से ज्यादा मेरे को ये भी लगता है यार, ये कॉर्पोरेट दुनिया में जैसे आजकल कॉल आउट होते हैं ना, where men just say कि अच्छा इज इट दैट टाइम ऑफ द मंथ, मेरे को उससे भी प्रॉब्लम है.
हाँ 100% होनी चाहिए, because I feel like you it it may be that time of the month, but don't trivialize everything by saying, and don't use that as an excuse to get away with whatever you're
Yeah.
doing that may be triggering. Or like there are also, it's not easy for all women all the time. Periods are different for different women, so it's not always that time of the
सुपर,
month.
वेरी वेल सेड. दो चीजें, एक्चुअली तीन चीजें. एक, इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग दैट टाइम ऑफ द मंथ, जो मैंने सीखा, जो हम सबको सीख लेना चाहिए शायद, वो ये है कि आपको पीरियड्स बोलना चाहिए. इट्स वेरी सिंपल, इट्स अ बायोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस. आप पीरियड्स बोलिए. आई थिंक इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग चमिंग, चम्स, इज इट दैट टाइम ऑफ द मंथ, और गॉड एवन नोज क्या क्या आप बोलते हो, बट आई थिंक पीरियड्स एड्रेस करना टैबू नहीं है. It's simple. They're going through it, not doing. They're going through it. And if we are as men aware, then, and also I think we should ask. We should not assume. I think assume में बहुत गड़बड़ है. How else do you think they can respect?
First, by listening, by being really good listeners, and most importantly, I feel like since we are on the Male Feminist and are talking about feminism, I feel like it is as much for men as it is for women, because it is about, like, it is being able to balance the male and female out, in the sense of men can also be vulnerable. They have to come around to that idea of being vulnerable.
Okay, being vulnerable.
Yeah, because men are also growing up taught certain things about, no, you can't cry, no, you can't express emotions, no. It really helps when you really let yourself go. It is so much easier for every relationship of yours, not just as a son, not just as a husband, even as a father.
Yeah.
When you will, have conversations with your daughters or sons, the minute you're able to express yourself better, that's what we say as a motto for any relationship, right? Communication. But men are not taught to be like, oh, I'm hurt, but I can't say it because I can just be angry. I can't cry. So the minute men learn to come out of that realm is when women will also, like, be able to balance that. When men learn to stop controlling, women will learn how to stop being controlled.
Another thing that you pointed out is very easy and simple to understand for women, that some may have heavy, medium, or light periods. Some may have very bad cramps. Some may have okay days. Some may have really like chill days.
Yeah.
Like,
the mood swings for people are very different.
Very different.
For some people, the lead up to the period is
extremely hormonal. Yeah.
It's very hectic. For some people, the days of the period, the flow are very hectic. For some people, after. So it's really different for different people. So just listen. Just listen. Don't assume. That's very important.
Yeah, women who are watching this, share this bit with all your male friends. I think that is where a lot will get better. As a man, sometimes I wish somebody told us about what women go through, because I didn't want to learn it from all the partners that I've had or my wife.
Yes.
But like, I wish somebody told us this. In school, they tried. But
No, they didn't try. I don't know what they did in your school, but I have been bringing this up quite often when these conversations happen about menstruation and etc. That when the girls in school were taught about
they
it,
separated us. हम लोग को अलग
separate लड़कों को sports के लिए भेजते थे, because
हाँ,
that's what
correct.
men are supposed to do, ना. लड़कियों, the girls have to bleed. Men have to go bleed like the blood of war.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
On the field.
On the field. So it was always very. I would find that strange. Maybe I never questioned it back in school. I question it a lot more now in hindsight.
You did question it then also.
मुझे लगा कि क्यों ऐसे कर रहे हैं, but because it's just like you're just following the herd कि okay सिर्फ लड़कियों को ये सुनना है, because there's always sniggering, there's always like that whispering. So it's not that men don't know. They may not know in great detail, but they know something.
यार
So it's always.
एक 4 सेक्शन में एक ही दोस्त था जिसकी माँ ने उसको बिठा के बताया था, और कोई नहीं जानता था.
Kudos to her.
Yeah, kudos to that mother. I would
That
say.
mother,
But
because
like,
I agree with you. I feel like this is a very important conversation that should be had with all the young boys at the same time as the girls.
yeah. Okay, moving on. What about dating life, Mithila? Do you want to talk about that?
It's non-existent.
Yeah, you've never dated anyone. Have you ever discussed this on camera with people or not?
I perhaps have, and that doesn't mean that
Like you've had relationships?
in conversation. I don't know how to explain it, but it was never really an official thing. So never, there's been no, and I'm a very old school person. So I'm like, you tell me if you want to commit. If you don't want to commit,
Go the whole distance or
yeah,
don't?
or don't come halfway also. So no, like full-fledged relationships really. That doesn't mean I've not had heartbreaks, and I can't really explain myself because I'm not very vocal about those things. But so I have had a huge heartbreak at one point in time, which also perhaps has made me who I am years after that. But dating life more or less has been non-existent, and it's not that I'm not saying it as a complaint. It's a conscious decision. ऐसे कुछ नहीं है कि नहीं करना है या बात नहीं करना है. I have just not been able to put myself out there because I'm also an overthinker. I'm just like, अरे मतलब क्या, you have to just meet random people and just like try
Get
this
at it.
out.
Yeah.
It's not something. Dating apps are not my thing.
Yeah.
So I believe in serendipity. So if ever someone walks into my life, I guess.
यार ये बताओ, the road that you live in, I mean मतलब like वो interior गली से बाहर निकल के left लेते ही, that lane has had one of my ex-girlfriends have somebody flash and shit. Like you never had any of these fuck all incidents happen with you in life because that shape a woman and how she sees men also a lot.
I have actually in a bus. Somebody rubbed themselves against me. And the minute I turned around, it was a crowded bus, but that person disappeared in such a flash that I have no memory of his face.
Do you want to talk about this if it's comfortable for you?
It is, I mean, there is, at that point in time, I felt extremely disgusted. And initially, I didn't, it was a really crowded bus, right? So like many other things, we also normalize like, okay, kisi ka shoulder
हाथ
is
लग गया होगा.
brushing, or like somebody is just passing by and like kamar lag gayi. Because I was sitting down, I was sitting on a seat, and and the minute I turned, like, because it felt like this is incessantly happening. It's not something that has passed by.
Yeah, it oscillates.
Yeah. So I was like, and then I was extremely disgusted. And the minute I didn't know what my reaction would have been had he just been there. But he, like in a flash, he has disappeared.
ये भी देखिए एक इन्वेजन ऑफ प्राइवेसी है. ये बहुत ही कठोर क्राइम है अगर आपको रिपोर्ट कर दिया जाए तो. किसी भी तरीके का ऐसे फालतू काम मत कीजिए प्लीज. आई थिंक
Yeah. Anyway, why?
it really like deposits a very fuck
Like I
all
wanted
memory.
to shout. Like I don't know what. I just wanted to. I was feeling disgusted, and I didn't do anything. I was sitting in the bus like every day. Like I would take the bus to home, and I said, but
बट ये
yeah.
मर्दों को नहीं पता था. यही मैं बोल रहा था ना, जब तक वो मेरी एक्स गर्लफ्रेंड ने मुझे बताया नहीं था कि उस रोड पे वो हर दिन वॉक करती थी और वो सडनली यू बोली. हमने क्या हुआ? एंड इन द यू आल्सो यू हियर अ वाइब्रेटरी काइंड ऑफ लाइक बहुत ही डरा हुआ टोन व्हिच इज स्केयर्ड आल्सो व्हेन शी इज डिसगस्टेड. एंड आई वाज जस्ट लाइक वेट, how dare someone? Anyway, how can one, and I'm sad that this bus incident that had happened with you and my train incident are just the sadness of the humankind that some bestow upon the others. लेकिन क्या कर सकते हैं हम बच्चों को सिखाने के लिए ताकि वो बड़े होके ऐसा ना करे, या अगर उनके साथ ऐसा हो तो वो क्या रिएक्ट करें?
And this is a conversation that we definitely need to have at homes to begin with, because charity begins there essentially. Like you and I were talking earlier, good touch, bad touch is the most basic learning that you can give your child. Along with your menstruation conversation, this can be a conversation that actually could be had even earlier in their lives. That as a girl or as a boy, like as a boy, if you're being like if you're feeling uncomfortable about anyone's touch, whether it's a girl or a
Boy.
girl or a boy,
Any
and
gender.
similarly for the for girls, if it is a girl or a boy, the minute you feel uncomfortable about something, you have to voice it, whether it's to that person or voice it to, like, acknowledge it in you, to yourself first, that this is discomforting. It's just that it's normalized so much that, to be very honest with you, when that incident happened with me, obviously my initial thought was कि नहीं ये हो ही नहीं सकता ना, like why would he do that? it's just a very crowded bus. So you still end up giving somebody else the benefit of the doubt because it's a conflict you don't want to address. Because it's,
or you don't even know because it's not even a chapter that's been ever opened in your
yeah.
book head.
And it's feeling uncomfortable. You're thinking uncomfortably about it. But I didn't know what to do. And I've never told this to, like, I didn't, in conversations that you may have had with your friends where, these, like we just did, here these instances happen, has it happened with you, kind of, there I may have mentioned. But when I was going through it, I just shut it down because I was like, किससे बात करूं और क्या करूं? Like, he's gone. What could I have done anyway?
Moving on to the good men in your life, you've also had very nice and protective and like Irrfan or DQ on set. I've heard are brilliant men to have had and have on set. Tell me a little about how that changes the world for you as an actor and as a woman.
There was never, like, I didn't feel differently treated on that set at all. Because I felt like, oh, I was part of them. I was part of this gang. I was home. And if they wouldn't have done that for me, I was away from home for the first time in my life.
Really?
Because I didn't go to college anywhere else. I'm a Mumbai girl. I've grown up here. I've been brought up here. Even if
all of the shoots happened here only.
All the shoots happened here. So for a month away from home was the first ever time in my life. So if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have been easy. Because of course you're in a new city, you don't know anyone over there, and
sets can be very isolating.
Sets can be very isolating.
Another thing that falls into the same rapid fire thing is you never experienced pay parity or you recognized or saw it happen with you in Bollywood?
I never asked about it. It was until these conversations started happening around me is when I still don't ask about it. Because for me, my goal was me. Am I growing? Am I getting paid more than what I would? Am I getting paid as much as I deserve? I've always had that thought about me. But I don't think that's necessarily always right. Because, yeah, it does well for me. But at the same time, as a society, is it, or as an industry, are we stepping up? So honestly, I have not actively had a conversation about pay parity on any of my sets. Although I know it happens.
Then you're curious about it, if you've found out or if you've read.
I'm curious because there's a lot of conversation around me that happens. A lot of my actress friends have told me that it happens. So it's not, I'm not blindsided about it. Or I'm not delusional कि ऐसे होता ही नहीं है. I don't focus on it.
Yeah, we have these preset questions of the male feminist that we ask. What should a message to the 16-year-old self look like if you had that camera to tell it?
Just have faith in the process. You're doing fine. Just don't panic about not knowing what next. You'll figure it out.
ये consistently करीब 20 और लोगों ने बोला है, पता है? क्या हम लोग 16 साल के थे तभी बहुत पैनिक थे क्या जिंदगी में?
और प्रेशर था ना, पीयर प्रेशर भी होता है ना. और हम लोग वैसे लोग हैं जो कन्वेंशनल नहीं, लाइक यू एंड आई हैव वी डन कन्वेंशनल थिंग्स इन लाइफ. अगर डॉक्टर और इंजीनियर ये सब बनना है तो तुम्हारा पाथ एटलीस्ट यू, इट्स नॉट एन अननोन. तुम्हें पढ़ाई करनी है, पास होना है, डॉक्टर, ऑफ कोर्स देन द एफर्ट इज देन
एफर्ट सबका है भाई, मेहनत सब करते हैं. हाँ,
बट आई एम सेइंग दैट द पाथ इज sketched out for.
नहीं, हमारी लाइफ बहुत अनसर्टेन है बॉस.
मैं एक्टर हूँ, कोई और एक्टर है, हम दोनों की लाइफ अनसर्टेन है यार. वो थोड़ी, two actors have not had the same journey.
100%.
They may have had a similar journey, but they've not had the same journey.
Another thing is that what should men stop telling women?
I would think that even the best feminists I know end up mansplaining. So I would, now I'm talking about level 2 of people because I know that like beginning of feminism, so maybe I'm telling this to them कि since you're already halfway through understanding what feminism is, be conscious when you mansplain, because they don't do it deliberately, but because it's a gender-based thing. Like,
I
it's
know
like,
exactly what you mean.
It's, they end up giving advice.
Till very recently.
Yeah. Like, you end up giving advice because you think you're suggesting or you think you're giving advice. I don't need it. I'll ask you for it. Me personally also, I can say that I ask. I'm not shy from, I don't shy away from questioning, or I don't shy away from being curious or my lack of knowledge about
Or
something.
learning.
Or learning.
Yeah, perfect. So, consent. We talk about consent. क्योंकि consent पे चर्चा करना जरूरी है. How do you think you can say no? Like a strong no. What does that look like or seem like? Even if it's a physical gesture, how would that be?
My God, I'm very bad at this. I'm honestly very bad at this. So I don't know how to advise you because in different situations I've dealt with it differently. But it's important that you speak your mind in terms of it works for me this way. This is not the situation that I want to oblige to because it doesn't work for me. So I think I'll excuse myself from it. Kind of a no.
Like you leave the room is your suggestion.
But not like
Like leave that area.
yeah, that's how I deal with it because I don't deal with conflicts very well. So I would rather not deal with it, but I've learned better. That's not a good way to, because it kind of piles up. So the way to say no is to just break yourself from it, distance yourself from it in a sense, but politely because you don't want to be the same person as
That person.
that person. You know, there's a thing that I live by, there's a motto that I live by, and I know it's easier said than done. It may be easier for me to say it now than it would have, although I did say it since the beginning. Believe in yourself because if you don't, no one will. And then just go for it. And I've always said this, I have said this to men and women alike, but but as a girl, I would tell it to another girl that, you know, don't be intimidated by the condescending
Voices.
Believe in yourself. Because if I would have been submissive about constantly being told कि मत करो, मत करो, मत करो, मत करो, I wouldn't be where I am. Even by people who meant well and said that no, it's not a good idea for you to do, I still went ahead and did it.
कैसा लगा?
मजा.
मजा? गुड फन. देखिए मेरी प्रोड्यूसर आज भी मुझसे थोड़ी खफा रहेंगी क्योंकि मैंने काफी सवाल नहीं पूछे. तो हम दूसरी बार आएंगे. अगर आप हमें वो जो 1000 कमेंट है बीएमए रियूनियन वाले वो कर दें या इनको दूसरी बार लाने के लिए करें क्योंकि इनका बहुत काम आने वाला है. But thank you so much. I know you're a hugging person, so I'm going to say goodbye. This is Sid signing off. Bye, Mithila. Thank you,
Bye.
love.
Thank you.